Welcome to WWE 2K What If, where legends are reborn and reality gets reimagined. What if CM Punk rose once more to become the face of the company? What if the Straight Edge Society found an unlikely new leader in Jeff Hardy? What if Bron Breakker became the unstoppable future of WWE? What if RVD joined the Wolfpack during the early 2000s? And what if Ricochet returned as Prince Puma, the masked king of flight?
Drew setting it up. Hang on just a second here. Claymore connects to Gunther. Could this be it? Championship on the line. Somehow the World Heavyweight Champion manages to get his shoulder up. And now the Scottish Warrior looking to go high risk. Surely not a Super Claymore. Oh no! Drew McIntyre just took a nasty bump. You can see the pain etched across his face. This is a situation no one wants to see unfold in the ring. Medical personnel are rushing to his side, and it looks like they're calling for a stretcher. This is serious, folks. Drew McIntyre is one of the toughest competitors in WWE, and for him to need this kind of attention speaks volumes about the severity of the situation. Let's all take a moment to send our thoughts and best wishes to Drew. He gives everything he has every time he steps into the ring. Wait a minute, look at this. It's CM Punk. CM Punk arriving through the crowd and dishing out some retribution to McIntyre. CM Punk hasn't forgotten about what Drew did to him.
The tables have dramatically turned on Drew McIntyre here tonight. From hunter to hunted.
But there's a significant absence tonight that we need to address. Drew McIntyre, the Scottish Warrior, should be in this match competing for the championship he so richly deserves. It's a heartbreaking reminder of the unforgiving nature of this business. Last month, Drew suffered a devastating injury that took him out of action. Had it not been for that unfortunate incident, we would undoubtedly see Drew McIntyre inside that chamber, fighting for the World Heavyweight title. CM Punk is ready to put it all on the line. Oh my God, what a huge impact. Now Punk setting him up. The end could be near for Gunther. The go-to-sleep connects. Unbelievable. CM Punk has shocked the world and is now the new World Heavyweight Champion. What a turn of events here tonight at the Elimination Chamber. But as we celebrate this stunning victory, there's another storyline simmering in the background that we can't ignore. Drew McIntyre must be absolutely livid right now. Let's not forget the history between these two. It was CM Punk who cost Drew the World Heavyweight title at WrestleMania. Welcome to Monday Night Raw, and what a night we have ahead of us. Right now, we are witnessing a moment that will be etched into the annals of WWE history. CM Punk is making his first entrance as the new World Heavyweight Champion. It's been nearly a decade since we last saw CM Punk holding championship gold in WWE. His last title reign was back in 2013, making this an incredible comeback story. CM Punk has always been a polarizing figure, a man who speaks his mind and backs it up in the ring. Love him or hate him, you cannot deny his impact on the business. The crowd here is electric, divided as always when it comes to CM Punk. His journey back to the top has been nothing short of remarkable. Last night at the Elimination Chamber, Punk shocked the world, proving once again why he calls himself the best in the world.
It's time to remind the world who CM Punk really is. It's time to usher in a new era. And what better way to do that than with a symbol? A reminder that the past is dead and the future belongs to me.
Wow, would you just look at that championship? Talk about a throwback.
And CM Punk proudly shows off that brand new commemorative championship belt. It's safe to say a new era is now upon us. Oh my God! Drew McIntyre just ambushed CM Punk. He's laid out the new World Heavyweight Champion with a massive Claymore. Look at this, folks. Drew McIntyre is still visibly injured, bandaged up and all, but that hasn't stopped him from making a statement tonight.
Last week, I made a statement, all right, and that statement was pretty simple. CM Punk, you're not untouchable. You might run your mouth about being the best in the world, but in my world, you're just an old man. A man who made a massive mistake. Because of you, Punk, I'm standing here not in the middle of that ring where I belong. My body's broken, my ribs are cracked, and the doctors are telling me I'm not cleared to compete for 6 months. 6 months, that's half a year of my career gone because of you, Punk. But let me make something very clear. You may have taken me out of action, but you haven't taken me out of the fight. See, I might not be cleared to compete, but I'm still going to show up to every single Raw, week after week. You're going to see me backstage, in the crowd, hell, maybe even sitting at ringside. I'm going to make your life a living hell.
This is the kind of matchup we live for. Two world-class competitors with a wealth of experience, skill, and pride. Normally, a match like this would be all about the in-ring action, and I want to focus on that because these two are more than capable of stealing the show. But let's be honest here, gentlemen, there's a shadow looming over this match, and that shadow's name is Drew McIntyre. We heard Drew's words. He promised to make CM Punk's life a nightmare. That promise is hanging over this entire arena like a dark cloud. And this one is over. CM Punk takes care of Finn with an impactful GTS. Wait a minute. Drew McIntyre, he's not wearing that neck brace anymore. This changes everything. What does this mean? You all saw it. Drew's been walking around with that neck brace for weeks, playing the part of the injured warrior.
I lied. I've been cleared to compete for weeks. There's no injury, no 6 months, no time off. I just wanted Punk to think he was safe. I wanted him to get comfortable, to let his guard down. But Punk, listen up. I'm cleared to wrestle right now, and I'm coming for you. And that little piece of tin you're carrying around, that so-called championship, it's mine. At WrestleMania, I'm going to be the man who ends your era before it even begins. I'll rip that belt from your hands, and I'll send you back to the elite indies.
But now it looks like he's been cleared, and he's 100%. Drew McIntyre has been lying in wait, and this was his plan all along.
The grandest stage of them all, the pinnacle of this business. And for the first time in my career, I'm finally where I belong. In the main event. You know, I've been fighting for this moment for a long, long time. I've clawed my way to the top, walked through hell to prove that I am the best in the world. And tonight, I should be proud. Proud that I'm headlining the biggest show of the year. Proud that I'm the guy who carries this company on his back. Proud that the world is finally paying attention. But there's something gnawing at me, something that doesn't sit right. I should be celebrating, but instead I'm disappointed. Because tonight at WrestleMania, the match that's supposed to cement my legacy, the match that's supposed to be the culmination of everything I've worked for, I have to share the stage with someone as sloppy, as reckless as Drew McIntyre.
Oh my God, it's true. The rumors, the speculation, it's all true. McIntyre is not walking into this match alone. Now with Piper Niven by his side, this could be a game changer. We've seen what Piper is capable of. She's as tough and as ruthless as they come. If she gets involved tonight, it could spell disaster for CM Punk. What we're witnessing right now is a healthy Drew, a dangerous, focused Drew. That neck brace, it was just a mind game. McIntyre lured Punk, the WWE Universe, all of us into believing he wasn't at full strength. But clearly, he's been waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Oh, come on. There it is. Piper making her presence felt. We knew it was only a matter of time. This could be a huge mistake. Claymore, Claymore. Drew just drilled Punk with the Claymore kick, and Piper was the reason why. We knew this could happen, and now, no way, no way. That's AJ Lee. AJ Lee is back, and she's here to even the odds. What a moment. Listen to this crowd. AJ Lee just took out Piper. Are you kidding me? Oh my God. Piper thought she had the upper hand, but here comes AJ, and she is not playing around. Talk about a WrestleMania moment. He did it. CM Punk has done it. The best in the world is the World Heavyweight Champion. What an unbelievable match on the grandest stage of them all. He finally reclaims the title he's fought for his entire career. This is what WrestleMania is all about. Defying the odds, making history, and creating unforgettable moments.
Bron Breakker, a world-class athlete who bulldozed his way through NXT, leaving nothing but destruction in his path. Now, it's time to take the next step, to rise through the ranks of WWE and to prove to everyone that he is the next big thing in the company. Today we explore how the rest of Bron's career could unfold, using WWE 2K24 Universe Mode. After leaving NXT, Bron was drafted to Raw, where he feuded with Sami Zayn and then Jey Uso, capturing the Intercontinental title. These feuds were designed to prepare Bron for something even greater. After losing and regaining the title twice, Bron was ready for the next stage. His first big challenge was none other than the returning Brock Lesnar. Lesnar was coming towards the end of his career, and WWE were looking to invest their stock in a younger superstar. The matches between Bron and Brock were brutal. It wasn't just about winning for Bron, it was about proving that he belonged. Their encounters in the ring were physical, stiff, and unforgettable. Fans will remember that steel cage match in late 2024. The one where Brock thought he had the match won, only for Breakker to escape in the last moment with an insane high-risk moment that could have ended his career. Breakker's early years were all about figuring out who he was beyond the shadow of his family. His promos were raw, unpolished, but full of heart. He wasn't trying to be his father or his uncle. He was creating his own legacy. By the time 2026 rolled around, the fans had accepted Bron as the new powerhouse of WWE. He was no longer the son of Rick Steiner. He was Bron Breakker, and he was the next big thing. Between 2027 and 2030, Bron Breakker went from a promising mid-carder to an undeniable main event star. It all started with Money in the Bank in 2027. Winning that briefcase was the turning point in his career. Everyone knew it was just a matter of time before Bron Breakker would become WWE champion. But it was how he did it that solidified his place at the top. After months of teasing, Breakker finally cashed in his Money in the Bank briefcase in 2028 during a bittersweet last man standing match between Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns. It was the perfect moment. Both men were down, exhausted, and Bron sprinted to the ring, delivering one of the most devastating spears in recent memory. The crowd exploded, and just like that, Bron Breakker was WWE champion. His rivalry with Rollins and Reigns defined much of his early main event run. These three were on a collision course for years, with Breakker right at the center. 2028 saw some of the most heated matches in WWE history between them. Rollins, the architect, was constantly trying to outsmart Bron, while Reigns tried to bully him out of the spotlight. But Bron wouldn't be denied. The triple threat match at SummerSlam 2028, an instant classic. Fans still talk about how Breakker managed to lift both Reigns and Rollins at the same time for that double power slam, something no one had seen for years. That match was proof that Bron wasn't just a powerhouse. He was a freak of nature, and he could go toe-to-toe with the absolute best. Bron's first WWE Championship reign lasted nearly a full year, which is a rarity in today's WWE. He defended the title against everyone, from Drew McIntyre to Cody Rhodes. Bron's versatility as a performer shined through. Whether it was a technical masterclass against Carmelo Hayes or a hard-hitting slugfest with McIntyre, Bron proved he could adapt to any style. He wasn't just winning, he was dominating. From 2031 to 2035, Bron Breakker truly solidified his legacy. This was his prime. He was headlining WrestleManias. He was a multi-time world champion, and he was the face of WWE. But with great success came great challenges, and none greater than his rivalry with Roman Reigns. Reigns was finding success in Hollywood and was only wrestling on special occasions. But that didn't numb the intensity. These two men genuinely hated each other. Their feud reached its climax at WrestleMania 51, where they faced off in an unforgettable 60-minute Iron Man match. The build-up alone was monumental. Months of animosity, personal jabs, and the desire to be the guy. For Reigns, it was about refusing to fully retire from WWE. For Breakker, it was about making sure Roman was gone for good. WrestleMania 51 was the moment Bron Breakker had been waiting for. The Iron Man match was grueling, 60 minutes of pure punishment. The score was tied at 4-4, and with just 30 seconds left on the clock, Breakker dug deep, hitting Reigns with an earth-shattering spear. The crowd was on their feet as Bron locked in a Steiner recliner, a tribute to his family. With mere seconds to go, Reigns tapped out. Bron had done it. He finally defeated Roman Reigns on the grandest stage of them all. That victory not only cemented his place as the top star, but also became one of the most iconic moments in WrestleMania history. By the end of 2035, Breakker had accomplished what few ever do. He became a Grand Slam champion. He won the United States title in a barn burner against Kevin Owens, and later that year, He captured the tag team championships alongside his longtime rival, turned partner Drew McIntyre. It was a full-circle moment. Bron wasn't just the powerhouse of the division. He was one of the most well-rounded competitors in WWE history. But beyond the titles, it was his work ethic and leadership that stood out. Bron was becoming a locker room leader, taking younger talents under his wing. By 2036, everyone in the business recognized Bron Breakker as not just a top guy, but a true legend. From 2036 to 2038, he embraced his role as the veteran gatekeeper. He wasn't competing for championships as often, but when he did, it was an event. His 2037 feud with rising star Javon Evans was a masterclass in storytelling. Bron, now 37, played the role of the grizzled veteran who still had something to prove, while Evans was now one of the top merchandise sellers in the company. In the end, Javon won the feud, but it was Bron who made him a star. That's the kind of performer Bron had become, someone who could elevate others while still delivering top-tier performances. At 38, Bron had one last title run in him, an emotional and hard-fought heavyweight championship reign. The 2038 feud with Obafemi brought out the best in both men. Bron defended the title for 6 months, showing that even in his late 30s, he could still go. That final title defense at Survivor Series 2038, where he narrowly lost to Obafemi, was a passing of the torch moment. Breakker knew his time was coming to an end. Injuries were beginning to catch up with him, and WWE's insulting contract offer was enough to seal Bron's decision. In 2040, at the age of 40, Bron Breakker announced his retirement tour. This was his farewell to the fans who had supported him for 15 years. Every match on that tour was emotional, but none more so than his final match at WrestleMania 56 against one of his greatest rivals, Seth Rollins. With Rollins now 52 years old and long retired from WWE, this served as one final special attraction match for Rollins, while simultaneously being the final match of Bron Breakker. The match was everything it needed to be: emotional, physical, and symbolic. Breakker won in the end, with both men receiving a standing ovation. Bron's career was nothing short of legendary. From his early days of raw potential to becoming the face of WWE, and ultimately a respected veteran, his journey was one for the history books. Multiple world championships, unforgettable rivalries, and iconic WrestleMania moments. Breakker goes down as one of the greatest to ever step in the ring. Bron Breakker's chapter is closed, but Bronson Steiner? That's a different story. After TNA's mystery leader was revealed as AJ Styles, everything was up for grabs at the biggest show of the summer. At SummerSlam, Punk went one-on-one with AJ Styles, the self-declared leader of TNA, in a title unification bout. With the locker room in turmoil and the match descending into an all-out brawl, a familiar figure made his return, but it wasn't how the WWE Universe remembered him. Jeff Hardy, reviving his darkest persona, the Antichrist of professional wrestling, struck down CM Punk, handing AJ Styles the victory and crowning him the new undisputed champion. This is no longer just an invasion. This is a hostile takeover. TNA Impact opened its very first episode on Sci-Fi under the WWE umbrella, and there was no one more fitting to kick things off than the phenomenal one himself. AJ Styles, now standing tall as the undisputed world champion, both the WWE World Heavyweight title and the TNA World Championship slung over his shoulders, made his way to the ring to a thunderous reaction. It was surreal. This wasn't just a TNA comeback. This was TNA reborn, and leading the charge, the man who's synonymous with the brand's legacy. AJ didn't waste any time. He stepped into the ring, soaked in the moment, and held both titles high. One represented the company that once tried to box him in, the other, the company he helped build. Styles made it clear he's now the face of professional wrestling. He said that at SummerSlam, everything he ever dreamed of came true, walking out of the biggest show of the year with not one but 2 world championships. But then, the tone shifted. Styles made it clear this was never just about personal glory. This was part of a bigger plan, a vision for something greater. He reminded the world that while he may be the face of TNA in spirit, contractually, he's still locked down to Monday Night Raw. His exact words, "I'm not supposed to be here every week, but I know someone who should be." Then came the moment that changed everything. AJ gave credit where it was due. He said he owes his WWE World Heavyweight title to Jeff Hardy, that without Jeff's return and his intervention at SummerSlam, there may not have been a double champion standing here tonight. And with that in mind, AJ Styles said he wanted to give Jeff the gift of life, because under Triple H's regime, Hardy was done, blacklisted. But under AJ's vision of TNA, Jeff gets the one thing WWE never wanted to give him again: opportunity. The lights dimmed, and that familiar haunting "Another Me" theme hit. Jeff Hardy made his entrance to a mixed reaction. Some cheered while others still remembered the past, but no one looked away. Hardy entered the ring. He and Styles stood nose to nose, a stare that said everything: respect, history, unfinished business, and shared enemy. And then, in a moment that shocked the wrestling world, AJ Styles handed Jeff Hardy the TNA World title. The crowd paused, processing. And then the chants began. You deserve it. You deserve it. Jeff Hardy stood tall, holding the TNA World title above his head, not because he won a match, but because he won AJ Styles' trust. Styles exited the ring without another word, leaving the spotlight on Jeff. TNA has a new face, not chosen by corporate or sanctioned by WWE, chosen by AJ Styles. And his name is Jeff Hardy. The crowd was still buzzing, half in celebration, half in disbelief, as Hardy soaked it all in. And then the lights shifted. Karrion Kross emerged from the shadows, slow and calculated, with Scarlett trailing just behind him. In an instant, the celebration was over. Kross dragged Hardy to the mat, wrapping around him like a snake. The crowd screamed for help, but no one came. Jeff fought for a moment, but the weight of it, the pressure, the torque, was too much. Within seconds, Jeff Hardy was unconscious. Kross didn't let go, not immediately. He stared into the camera, that cold expression unflinching, like he'd just done what needed to be done. Eventually, he released the hold, rising slowly, standing over Hardy, whose first night as champion had ended in violence. No words, just a clear message from Karrion Kross. He doesn't follow orders. He wasn't part of the vote, and he doesn't recognize Jeff Hardy as champion. The lights dimmed, the atmosphere grew heavy, and the haunting theme of Karrion Kross echoed through the impact zone. The TNA faithful weren't quite sure what to make of the man who choked out their newly anointed champion, but also might have had a point. Kross entered the ring with an eerie presence, scarred by intensity, but calculated in every step. Microphone in hand, he took his time before speaking. I didn't choke out Jeff Hardy for attention. I didn't do it out of jealousy, I did it because it needed to be done. A murmur rolled through the crowd, some cheers, some boos, but everyone listening. AJ has been called many things. Phenomenal, iconic, champion, but there's one thing he's not, and that's a man of good judgment. If it wasn't for me sparking the fire on Raw, me putting Rey Mysterio down, there wouldn't have been a movement for Styles to lead. No invasion or power shift, no championship. I laid the foundation while he posed for the pictures. What AJ did last week, giving that title away like a party favor, that wasn't leadership, that was disrespect. Not just to the belt, not just to me, but to every person who fought to bring TNA back from the grave. I didn't oppose Jeff Hardy because of who he was. I opposed him because of what he is now. I saw it in his eyes. The glazed dot, the same chaos that nearly ended his career. That nearly ended him. You know it. I know it. He knows it. We all celebrated the return of the Antichrist, but we forgot what came with it. The darkness and the self-destruction. The wreckage left behind. The crowd fell eerily quiet now. Jeff is not the savior of TNA. He's a loaded gun with no safety, and if we let him hold the keys to this kingdom, he'll burn it down from the inside. I want Jeff to prove me wrong. I want him to be better, but I've seen this version before, and I'm telling you now, his demons are back, and this time, they're in charge. Kross had just dropped one of the most cold-blooded promos we've heard since this TNA revival began, but then the lights pulsed, and out staggered the TNA World Champion. Hardy's body language was erratic. His words, strange. His voice, slurred, almost distant. Kross, you want to talk about demons? Jeff muttered, eyes wide, pacing slowly across the stage. You think you see something in me? You don't see nothing. You wish you had my demons. You wish you had what I got inside me. Because whether you like it or not, the charismatic Enigma is the only one in this whole company that draws eyes. These people, he pointed to the crowd, spinning slightly off balance. They're here for me, not for you, not for Styles, me. The crowd turned quickly, boos raining down. A sharp contrast to the cheers Jeff had received just 1 week ago. Jeff Hardy may be holding the title, but the man we're seeing now, he's spiraling. And Kross might be right. This Jeff Hardy could take TNA down with him. The crowd was restless now, still booing, still unsure if what they were witnessing was brilliance or a breakdown. Then he raised the mic again, eyes darting toward the ring where Kross stood waiting. You think I'm slipping, huh, Kross? You think you're gonna wait for me to unravel and then slide right in? Choke me out again like last week? Nah. I took out a little something called artistic insurance. You know, to make sure no future mistakes happen. No surprise chokeholds. No lights out moments from Mr. Doomsday over there. The crowd buzzed, confused, intrigued. Kross didn't flinch, but you could see the wheels turning. That individual, yeah, he's gonna make his presence felt real soon. You won't see him coming. He doesn't operate under bright lights. He's subtle, but trust me, when he shows up, you'll feel it in your spine. Jeff let out a twisted laugh, then dropped the mic and staggered backstage, still clutching the title like a lifeline. The arena was left in silence. Who did Jeff Hardy bring in? What kind of insurance did he mean? And more importantly, was it genius or paranoia? Later that night, cameras caught up with Karrion Kross backstage. Storming into the office of TNA General Manager Nick Aldis, the mood was tense. Jeff Hardy didn't win that title, and neither did AJ. That belt was passed around like a prop in a performance piece. This isn't art, Nick. It's a world championship. Aldis, to his credit, didn't try to deflect. He sat in silence, considering every word. Cross pressed forward. Jeff's not fit to carry the weight. You've seen him, slurring, stumbling, hallucinating, and now he's threatening insurance policies? Come on, the prestige of the TNA World title is already hanging by a thread. You put me in that ring tonight. I fix this. You're not wrong, Cross. The world title is in jeopardy, and we can't afford to let this brand unravel before it even gets back on its feet. So tonight, it's official. Jeff Hardy versus Karrion Kross for the TNA World Championship. In the main event of Impact's, Jeff Hardy defended the TNA World Championship against Karrion Kross, but just before the bell, a major curveball was thrown. TNA officials made it a ladder match. They didn't just want to crown a winner. They wanted to find out if Jeff Hardy could still climb. Physically, mentally, metaphorically. Could the most unpredictable version of Hardy rise, or would he fall under the weight of his own chaos? What followed was a violent, emotional battle. Kross was methodical and merciless, turning ladders into weapons of precision. Hardy was erratic, explosive, and at times, unhinged. Both men crashed, but it was the story underneath it all that had the crowd divided. Was Jeff still a worthy champion, or was Kross the savior this brand didn't want to admit it needed? In the closing moments of the brutal ladder match between Hardy and Kross, it looked like the prophecy was finally coming true. Kross had weathered Hardy's chaos, punished him with cold precision, and was inches away from pulling down the TNA World title. But that's when Jeff Hardy's so-called artistic insurance policy finally revealed itself. And it was Abyss. Yes, the monster Abyss returned to TNA, not as a legend or a fan favorite, but as Hardy's personal enforcer. The man who once wreaked havoc in the Impact Zone had come back, aligned with Jeff Hardy. With wreckage behind him and protection at his side, Jeff Hardy ascended the ladder, slowly and shakily, but unopposed. He pulled down the TNA World title, still champion, still standing, thanks to the monster he'd kept in the shadows. This version of Jeff Hardy isn't here to fight fair. He's here to keep the title, by any means necessary. 1 week removed from his controversial ladder match victory, Jeff Hardy opened TNA Impact, and the boos were louder than ever. Clutching the TNA World title, and moving with that erratic, unpredictable energy, Jeff stepped into the ring. The crowd had turned. What was once nostalgia had become discomfort, and Jeff, he fed off it. "You all hate me now, huh?" he said, smirking. "Good, that means I'm telling the truth. None of you wanted me to win. None of you ever thought I could hold on to this. You didn't believe in it. You wanted a crash, a relapse, a tragedy. But there's one person in this place who never tried to take this title from me. One man who sees what I see. One man who understands darkness. They say he's unstable. They say he's insane. But he's the only one here who's not lying through his teeth. Ladies and gentlemen, the only real friend I've got in TNA, Abyss." The lights went out. The crowd gasped. And then, that all-too-familiar siren hit. For the first time in over a decade, Abyss made his entrance on a TNA broadcast. He entered the ring and stood silently beside Jeff, looming over him like a shadow. No words, just presence. Jeff raised the title high and grinned. "This is my kingdom now, and if anyone wants this belt, they'll have to go through the monster." With Abyss by his side, Jeff Hardy isn't just unpredictable, he's untouchable. Karrion Kross appeared via satellite. "The fans deserve better," he said. "Better than a champion who slurs his way through promos and hides behind monsters. Jeff Hardy isn't just a liability to that title, he's a liability to himself. As for Abyss, you cost me everything, and tonight, I take it back. Tag team match. You two versus me, and someone you remember. Someone you'll never forget." And with that, the main event was set. Jeff Hardy and Abyss. This twisted, unpredictable alliance against Kross and a mystery partner. Fast forward to the main event. Jeff and Abyss made their entrance first, dark and brooding as the boos poured in. This version of Hardy isn't trying to win fans, he's trying to rule them. Kross entered next, laser-focused, alone at first, but not for long. The arena held its breath, and then, my God, it's Kevin Nash. A TNA original, a former WWE and WCW World Champion. The big man himself, back in the Impact Zone for the first time in years. Nash stepped out looking sharp, confident, and ready to shut down Hardy's descent into madness. The crowd erupted. Nash used his size and experience to ground Hardy early, while Kross went to war with Abyss outside the ring. Power met brutality. Precision met mayhem. But in the end, it was the numbers game and Jeff Hardy's recklessness that prevailed. With Kross and Abyss tearing each other apart at ringside, Hardy capitalized, hitting the Swanton on Nash and scoring the pin. Jeff Hardy pins a TNA legend to close the show, but the night wasn't over. Post-match, with Kross down and Nash barely stirring, Abyss snapped. He turned his attention to Scarlett, who had been ringside the whole time. Without hesitation, he grabbed her, lifted her high, and slammed her through the commentary table. Jeff Hardy stood on the ramp laughing, clutching his TNA title, proud of the monster he'd unleashed. This isn't just a reign anymore, it's a nightmare. TNA Impact opened with a sense of unease in the air following last week's shocking events. And that only escalated as general manager Nick Aldis made his way to the ring. Aldis didn't sugarcoat it. He condemned what happened. Abyss putting Scarlett through the commentary table, Jeff Hardy seemingly condoning it, and the state of a TNA World Champion who looks more unhinged by the week. He admitted what many had been thinking. Jeff Hardy may be spiraling, and as GM, Aldis vowed to do something about it. But before he could finish, the lights flickered. A hooded figure slipped through the crowd, slid into the ring behind Aldis, and hoisted him up onto his shoulders. It's CM Punk. The arena exploded as Punk dropped Aldis with a thunderous GTS, yanking down the hood to reveal a face full of rage. Punk grabbed a mic from inside his hoodie. Jeff Hardy cost me everything at SummerSlam, and thanks to a little special clearance from the TKO board, I'm here to get my payback. At Bound for Glory, it's me versus Jeff Hardy for the TNA World Championship. Before the crowd could even catch its breath, Jeff Hardy appeared on the stage, furious, pacing, eyes wide. He didn't charge the ring. Instead, he raised a hand and signaled. Abyss emerged from the back, marching to the ring like a monster released from its cage. He and Punk collided mid-ring in a brutal back-and-forth brawl. Punches, knees, chaos. But Punk found his rhythm, dodged a charging Abyss, lifted him onto his shoulders. GTS to the monster. As the impact zone erupted from the GTS to Abyss, no grin, no smirk, just frustration and fury on Hardy's face as he backed up the ramp, staring daggers into the man who just wrecked his insurance policy. The message was clear. Punk is back, he's focused, and at Bound for Glory, he's coming for everything. Bound for Glory opened with Karrion Kross versus Abyss in a brutal Monsters Ball match. And this one wasn't about championships, this was personal. Kross came into this match with one goal: revenge. After being cost the TNA World title and watching his wife Scarlett be brutally put through a commentary table, Kross promised to bring the monster down, permanently. And from the opening bell, it was violence with purpose. Steel chairs, trash cans, chains. Abyss brought the unpredictability, but Kross brought precision. The match reached a horrifying climax when Kross pulled out a table and lit it on fire. He dragged Abyss onto the apron, positioning him precariously near the flames. The crowd was stunned, hanging on every second. Then, Kross signaled to the back, and out came Scarlett. For the first time since her devastating injury, she sprinted down the ramp, no hesitation. She launched herself into Abyss with everything she had, a full-speed spear that sent the monster crashing off the apron and through the flaming table. The arena erupted. Kross, without missing a beat, dragged the charred and broken Abyss back into the ring. He locked in the Kross jacket, wrenching it with vicious intent until the referee had no choice but to call it. Abyss was out cold. Kross stood tall, scarred, breathing heavy, but victorious. Vengeance had been delivered. And in poetic fashion, it was Scarlett, the victim, who lit the fuse that finally brought the monster down. What a start to Bound for Glory. The main event of Bound for Glory was everything it promised to be and more. CM Punk versus Jeff Hardy for the TNA World Championship, in a clash dripping with history, tension, and personal vengeance. And the match? It was intense and physical. Punk targeted Hardy's spine. Hardy fought back with erratic shots. The crowd was split, half behind the focused warhorse, half still hypnotized by Hardy's descent into madness. But then, late in the match, Hardy connected with a whisper in the wind, but inadvertently took out the referee in the process. And that's when things got weird. Out of nowhere, through the crowd, Luke Gallows and Serena Deeb emerged, wearing black and white Straight Edge Society merch. It was like a ghost from Punk's past had stepped through a time portal. At first, the crowd roared. Was Punk being backed up? Were reinforcements here to even the odds? No. Serena walked straight up to Punk and slapped him across the face. Gallows followed with a brutal chokeslam, planting Punk into the mat with authority. Hardy crawled across the ring, draped an arm over Punk's chest. The ref came to, barely conscious. 1, 2, 3. Jeff Hardy retains the TNA World Championship, but the real shock came after the bell. Jeff stood tall, beside Serena and Gallows. No explanation or expression, just the three of them united. A surreal image. Jeff Hardy, standing with the Straight Edge Society. Has Hardy joined them? Is this some twisted act of redemption? Or has he co-opted Punk's old faction as one final act of disrespect? One thing is certain, CM Punk has now lost twice because of Jeff Hardy. And this time, it wasn't just a betrayal, it was personal. Bound for Glory ends with more questions than answers. Jeff Hardy is still champion, and the Straight Edge Society is alive again. What if the WWE's version of the NWO actually delivered as intended, with Shawn Michaels leading a highly poisonous faction? And what if that rise sparked a response from a reformed, re-energized Wolfpack, two legendary factions on a collision course? That's the story we're diving into today, using WWE 2K25 Universe Mode. The night after Vengeance, the WWE landscape felt different, and it didn't take long to see why. Raw opened with the newly restructured New World Order. In the ring, Michaels cut deep, thanking God that Kevin Nash had finally seen the light. HBK condemned Hall, calling him a weight Nash had carried for far too long. The crowd booed, but Michaels grinned. It wasn't just about Hall. This was about history. Diesel and the Heartbreak Kid, now reunited with a different kind of bond. Michaels gave Nash a nod mid-promo, almost ceremonially telling Nash to do as he's told. This wasn't just a new chapter for the NWO, it was a power shift. Michaels had taken the reins, and with Nash backing his play, the WWE version of the group had never looked more dangerous. Hall was out. Booker T had already been exiled weeks earlier. As the NWO stood tall, soaking in their dominance, the camera cut backstage to a cold, disgusted Booker T, watching from a monitor. The fire in his eyes said everything. He hadn't forgotten, and he hadn't forgiven. Later that night, Booker stepped back into the ring, facing off against X-Pac in what should have been a chance at redemption. But with the NWO, nothing is ever that simple. Just as Booker began to beat the snot out of Pac, Michaels struck, appearing ringside and dropping him with the nasty sweet chin music. The assault escalated instantly, turning into an ambush. Nash, Big Show, and X-Pac closed in, pummeling Booker in a 4-on-1 stomping. The message was clear: stay down, stay gone. But then, the crowd went nuts as someone leapt the barricade. No music, no warning, just the crack of a baseball bat against the steel steps. Scott Hall was back. With fire in his eyes and a foreign object in hand, Hall slid into the ring. The NWO scrambled. The unity they flaunted earlier, gone. Hall stood tall as Michaels and company retreated up the ramp. The exiled had returned, and he wasn't playing games. He didn't need to speak. His presence said it all. This war was just getting started. The next week, backstage, Scott Hall found Booker T. No bravado, no threats, just a conversation between two men with a common enemy. Hall made it clear Booker didn't owe him anything. But then he said something that hit harder than any punch. There's strength in numbers. Hall looked him in the eye and warned that now that Shawn Michaels was back in WWE and calling the shots, opportunities for everyone else would start to disappear fast, unless they pushed back, unless they fought while they still had the chance. Booker didn't respond, not with words, but the look he gave Hall, that fire was back. The wheels were turning. In the main event, the tone shifted. On one side, pure brute force, Nash and Big Show, two giants representing the NWO's massive power. On the other, speed, risk-taking, and unpredictability, courtesy of Jeff Hardy and Rob Van Dam. It was a clash of styles, of philosophies, of eras. The big men used their size to dominate early, slowing the match to their pace, grounding the high flyers. But Jeff and RVD brought the fight, using every inch of the ring to keep the giants off balance. As the action unfolded in the ring, the camera cut to the NWO watching closely from backstage. Arms folded, eyes sharp, their expressions said it all. This was about asserting dominance and about retaining territory. Midway through the match, disaster struck for the NWO. Big Show took a nasty spill to the outside, landing awkwardly and twisting his knee. Medical staff rushed to ringside as Show clutched his leg, effectively taking him out of the match. And just when things couldn't get more chaotic, Scott Hall made his presence felt once again. This time, in a bizarre move that left everyone scratching their heads, Hall emerged wearing Diesel-style gear, a clear jab at Nash's past. The mind games were real, and they worked. With Nash now struggling to hold it together while looking at his old friend wearing his classic WWF attire, Jeff Hardy and RVD capitalized. A combo of high-impact offense and a perfectly timed 5-star frog splash sealed it. Hardy and RVD picked up the win, leaving Nash angry in the ring while Hall smirked from the stage. But Hall wasn't done. He made his way to the ring, locking eyes with RVD. With the crowd buzzing, Hall raised his hand and offered the too sweet. RVD paused, glancing at the crowd, and then simply grinned. Instead of accepting, he hit his signature RVD pose and rolled out of the ring to celebrate with Hardy. Hall chuckled, watching them go. The war was far from over, but lines were starting to be drawn. The following week, the arena erupted as Scott Hall made his entrance on Raw. No smoke and mirrors or comical attires, just a man walking tall, with the crowd now firmly in his corner. The ovation was deafening. Hall wasn't just back, he was beginning to become one of the top guys, something that was boiling HBK's blood. Hall grabbed a mic and dropped his bravado for a moment of pure honesty. He spoke from the heart, about the journey, the loyalty, and the betrayal, about WCW, the guaranteed contracts, the outsiders, and the clique, about Kevin Nash. "You were my brother," Hall said. "We changed the game together, and now you're running with someone who only looks out for himself." Hall didn't want to wait until SummerSlam. He called Nash out right then and there, demanding to settle it face to face, man to man. But it wasn't Nash who came out first. It was the NWO. Shawn Michaels, X-Pac, and a limping Big Show hit the ramp, surrounding the ring. Hall was outnumbered, and he knew it. Still, he stood his ground. But just when it looked like history would repeat itself, Booker T emerged from the crowd, sliding into the ring beside Hall. The two stood shoulder to shoulder, ready to fight. And suddenly, the odds didn't look so uneven. The NWO paused, recalculated, and then retreated. Maybe, just maybe, Hall wasn't alone after all. Later that night in Raw's main event, the pieces began to fall into place. Big Show and X-Pac stood in the ring, ready for battle, but what they saw next left them stunned. The lights dimmed, a familiar beat hit, and out came Scott Hall and Booker T, side by side, wearing the iconic red and black. The crowd erupted as "Don't Turn Your Back on the Wolfpack" blasted blasted through the arena. During the match, tensions escalated even further as Hall and Booker began to dominate. Shawn Michaels attempted a run-in, but before he could even reach the ring, Rob Van Dam appeared out of nowhere and cut him off. With the crowd roaring, RVD dropped Michaels with a thunderous super kick on the ramp. Back in the ring, the action reached its climax. Hall hit the Razor's Edge and secured the 3 count, sealing a major victory for the newly reformed Wolfpack. As the dust settled, Hall and Booker stood tall, soaking in the reaction from the crowd. As the crowd roared in celebration of Hall and Booker's big win, RVD slid back into the ring, still riding the momentum from his earlier run-in. Hall turned to him, hand raised, offering the too sweet once again. This time RVD took it more seriously. With a nod and a smirk, he tapped knuckles with Hall. The arena erupted. Just like that, Van Dam was in. The Wolfpack had gained a new ally, and the resistance against HBK's backstage politics just got a serious boost. Meanwhile, backstage, a camera caught Kevin Nash watching the moment unfold on a monitor. Arms crossed, jaw clenched, Nash looked furious. The sight of Hall, Booker, and now RVD standing united was more than just a loss. The following week, it was Shawn Michaels who made his voice heard. With Kevin Nash by his side, HBK stepped into the ring and grabbed the mic, his expression cold and calculated. "I'm not surprised," he said flatly, "that RVD has aligned himself with Scott Hall. Rob Van Dam is just as much of a failure as Scott Hall ever was," Michaels continued, drawing heavy boos from the crowd. "He's all flash, no substance, overrated, overhyped, and overbooked. And mark my words, SummerSlam will be RVD's final main event. Period." The gauntlet had been thrown. Michaels didn't just want to beat RVD, he wanted to end his rise, bury the resistance, and cement the NWO's dominance one last time. Later that night, the challenge became reality. In the main event of Raw, Shawn Michaels went one-on-one with Rob Van Dam. This was more than a match. It was a grudge that had been simmering for weeks. From the opening bell, it was explosive. HBK tried to ground the high-flying RVD, but Van Dam's unorthodox offense kept Michaels reeling. The crowd was on fire, sensing they were witnessing something special. The frustration was written all over Michaels' face. And then, in a moment of desperation, HBK grabbed a steel chair and, right in front of the referee, smashed it across RVD's back. The bell rang. Disqualification. The match was over. Michaels walked away smirking. Just when fans thought the night was over, chaos erupted backstage. Cameras cut to a wild brawl breaking out between members of the NWO and the Wolfpack. Chairs flew, fists connected, total mayhem as security tried desperately to restore order. Meanwhile, in the ring, RVD was still recovering when an ominous figure stepped through the ropes. The crowd murmured, unsure. Michaels turned and froze. The camera zoomed in. No way. Lex Luger, dressed in red and black. The crowd exploded as the total package made his stunning return to WWE television, siding unmistakably with the Wolfpack. He hoisted Michaels into the air and locked in the torture rack. HBK flailed before finally collapsing to the mat. The message was clear. Luger was back, and he was Wolfpack. And at SummerSlam, it's officially 4-on-4. The stage was set, the atmosphere was electric. SummerSlam had arrived, and with it, what many were calling the final chapter in the saga of the New World Order, NWO versus Wolfpack, 4-on-4. A battle not just of factions, but of legacies. The dirt sheets had been swirling for weeks, whispers that WWE was ready to pull the plug on the NWO once and for all. That tonight, in this match, the fate of the black and white brand would be sealed. If that was true, then this wasn't just a match. It was a funeral of an iconic wrestling brand. On one side, Shawn Michaels, Kevin Nash, X-Pac, and Big Show, the latest incarnation of the NWO. Ruthless, cold, and calculated. On the other, Scott Hall, Booker T, Rob Van Dam, and the wild card, the returning Lex Luger. The Wolfpack reborn in spirit, energy, and rebellion. The match, beautiful, finishers flying, tag-ins barely mattering. It wasn't about rules. It was about pride. Michaels and RVD revisiting their bitter rivalry. Nash and Hall throwing shots like it was '96. And Luger? Luger was the surprise MVP, tossing bodies like a man a decade younger. The turning point came when Kevin Nash was shockingly eliminated via roll-up. Ironically, Michaels was the last man standing for the NWO, and he wasn't handling it well. He went crazy at Nash at ringside, screaming at his partner, blaming him for everything. But the verbal assault backfired. Something changed in Nash's eyes. Maybe it was regret, maybe it was clarity. Either way, he'd had enough. Nash dropped Michaels with a thunderous jackknife powerbomb to a deafening roar from the crowd. He then rolled Michaels' lifeless vessel back into the ring. Scott Hall stood ready. His eyes met Nash's. A subtle nod, a moment of unity. Hall hoisted Michaels up. Razor's Edge. 1, 2, 3. If this truly was the end of the NWO saga, It ended the only way it ever could, with brotherhood reclaimed and legacy restored.
At the Royal Rumble, Kane's twin brother returned to steal the show and the main event of WrestleMania. But which championship would he go after? It was clear that the Roman Reigns championship was his intended target. But taking a championship from a man who hasn't lost a singles match in 5 years is no easy feat. Roman Reigns planned to weaken Lucifer ahead of WrestleMania and took out Kane. But all this did was anger the monster even more. The following week, Reigns decided to try again. But this time, he did something out of the ordinary. He made an appearance on SmackDown. Roman Reigns rarely makes appearances on TV these days, but when he does, he makes an impact. As WrestleMania consumed the WWE Universe, everyone was shocked to see Roman enter the Lincoln Financial Field without his bloodline faction. Roman wanted to prove he could defeat the ominous Lucifer on his own. Unfortunately for Roman, despite hitting Lucifer with 5 spears, the head of the table was finally defeated. Can anybody stop Lucifer?
The fallout from WrestleMania continues, and we are about to witness the first appearance of Kane since his brother Lucifer's victory over Roman Reigns at the grandest stage of them all. He looks proud, and there's a certain confidence about him as he steps into the squared circle. Well, ladies and gentlemen, speak of the devil, or in this case, the devil's favorite champion. Lucifer, the newly crowned undisputed champion, is making his way to the ring for the first time since that shocking victory at WrestleMania. Look at the presence Lucifer exudes. The WWE Universe is witnessing a truly unique individual, and it's surreal to see him holding the Undisputed Championship, a title that has been synonymous with Roman Reigns' dominant reign. Are we going to hear from the man himself? Wait a second, could it be? Is the head of the table here in Chicago? This is a calculated attack by Jimmy Uso, and it's undoubtedly going to have ramifications for the main event. With Kane out of commission, what does this mean for Lucifer as he prepares for the biggest match in SmackDown history? Ladies and gentlemen, the anticipation is reaching a fever pitch as we prepare for our main event tonight. Roman Reigns, the former champion, has invoked his rematch clause and has promised a shocking ally to assist him in his quest to reclaim the WWE Undisputed Championship from Lucifer. Roman Reigns is not willing to wait for the next pay-per-view. He wants to rectify what he sees as an injustice, and he's confident that he's found someone even scarier than Kane's twin brother to aid him in this endeavor. The question on everyone's mind is, who is this mysterious ally? Lucifer, on the other hand, is left without the support of Corporate Kane, who was taken out earlier tonight. This is a precarious situation for the new champion. Roman Reigns is determined, and the unpredictability surrounding his newfound ally adds an extra layer of intrigue to this already highly anticipated rematch. We are on the brink of witnessing what could go down as one of the biggest matches in the history of Friday Night SmackDown. The newly crowned WWE Champion Lucifer is defending his title in a rematch against Roman Reigns, who is not only seeking redemption but has promised a shocking ally, someone even scarier than Kane's twin brother. The stakes couldn't be higher! Lucifer's reign as champion is already under siege just days after his triumphant victory at WrestleMania. The undisputed championship, symbolizing the pinnacle of sports entertainment, is now the focal point of an intense power struggle. Roman Reigns, a former champion, is hell-bent on regaining what he believes is rightfully his. The absence of Corporate Kane, who was taken out earlier tonight, leaves Lucifer vulnerable, facing not only the determined Roman Reigns, but also the looming threat of this mysterious ally. The anticipation, the unpredictability, and the sheer magnitude of what's at stake make this match a potential turning point in SmackDown history. What is happening here? Roman Reigns and the referee have exited the ring simultaneously, and it looks like they're engaged in a very deliberate conversation on the outside. Something doesn't seem right, folks. The referee has turned his back to the ring. What is going on? This is chaos. Lucifer blindsided with a vicious assault. But look at the referee. He seems completely oblivious to what's happening in the ring. This was a premeditated attack, orchestrated by Roman Reigns and the referee. It's clear that the official has been paid off by Reigns to turn a blind eye to this assault. This is a blatant disregard for fairness and sportsmanship. Lucifer is now at a severe disadvantage, and Roman Reigns is capitalizing on every opportunity to reclaim the title. The integrity of this match has been compromised. Incredible resilience on display here in our main event. Lucifer still manages to kick out of Roman Reigns' devastating spear. Could it be? Ladies and gentlemen, making his WWE debut, it's none other than Jacob Fatu, a force to be reckoned with. It looks like Roman Reigns has brought in the heavy artillery to ensure he reclaims the title. This changes everything. Jacob Fatu has joined the bloodline, and once again, Roman Reigns is the undisputed champion. What a heartbreaker for Lucifer, as his lifelong dream is cut short in devastating fashion. The landscape of SmackDown has changed forever, but what's more interesting is the new dynamic of the Bloodline Alliance.
The WWE Intercontinental title on the line. Perhaps a new chapter will be written in this championship's long history.
And with Ricochet, you're looking at an absolutely freakish athlete. But I worry about his longevity. Can Ricochet maintain a high level with the wrestling style that he brings to the table?
Championship, one of the most coveted titles in all of WWE.
Here is your winner, and the new WWE Intercontinental Champion, Sami Zayn!
You can name some of the all-time greats in Rey Mysterio, Shawn Michaels, superstars who truly excelled in the sky, but none to the level that Ricochet has.
There's a different feeling in the air.
And his opponent from Los Angeles, California, weighing in at 190 pounds, Prince Puma.
We really are looking at a new era, Cole. Soak it in.
The Intercontinental Championship held by over a dozen WWE Hall of Famers. The likes of Stone Cold Steve Austin, Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart,
Well, that title symbolizes the workhorse of WWE.
It certainly has a history of being the largest stepping stone any individual can climb.
Sami Zayn has never been more successful than he has recently.
Well, certainly no one can question the in-ring ability of Sami Zayn, a multiple-time Intercontinental Champion.
Here is your winner, and the new WWE Intercontinental Champion, Prince Puma.
For over 40 years, the WWE's best have competed for this title.
Winning the Intercontinental title has been a major milestone in some Hall of Fame careers.
One of the most incredible athletes in WWE today.